his report on the inflation levels of footballs used by the Patriots in the AFC Championship game against the Colts. Among the key conclusions, it's more probable than not that the Patriots personnel participated in a deliberate effort to release air from game balls, and quarterback Tom Brady was at least generally aware of inappropriate activities. It did not find any wrongdoing by Patriots ownership or coach Bill Belichick. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports that a source close to the investigation says the NFL is considering discipline for those involved, including Brady, and that the decision is just days away. However, we are now hearing from Tom Brady's agent. This morning, he says the Wells report, with all due respect, is a significant and terrible disappointment. One item alone taints this entire report. What does it say about the league's office protocols and ethics when it allows one team to tip it off to an issue prior to a championship game, and no league officials or game officials notified the Patriots of the same issue prior to the game? This suggests it's maybe more probable than not that the league cooperated with the Colts in penetrating a sting operation. This report contains significant and tragic flaws, and it is common knowledge in the legal industry that reports like this generally are written for the benefit of the purchaser. All right. That's where we begin the first of several debates on this show. Is there enough evidence, according to the Wells report, to punish Tom Brady? That is the question. Skip Bayless, you first.
Stephen A. Smith, I'm afraid there is. As you well know from working with me for many years, I'm a big Tom Brady fan. I'm a Patriot supporter. I know there's a whole lot of Patriot hate out there, but you don't get it from me. I'm afraid Tom Brady is guilty here, and I'm afraid he's going to have to be suspended for the good of the integrity of the game that we all love, the National Football League's game. I think Bill Belichick is going to have to be suspended. I'm going to call for Brady to be gone for 4 games and Belichick for 8 games because he oversaw this process, whether he admits to it or not. Now, back to the Wells report. Stephen A. Smith, I read every word of it last night. I read the tables. I read the graphs. I read the appendices, if that's the right word.
Yeah, that is correct.
I read it to the bottom. I lost track how many, 100 and some odd pages.
It was a lot.
139.
Thank you very much. I read and I read and I read, trying to shoot holes in it, trying to dismiss it as a bunch of reckless reaches, as we just heard from Tom Brady's agent. I don't want to hear about a sting operation. I don't want to hear from Tom Brady's father about Framegate. I realize the evidence is mostly circumstantial, but it's convincingly circumstantial. And I realize there's no smoking gun, there's no picture of, although there's video of this ref's locker room attendant taking the balls into the bathroom for about 100 seconds before that game in question. I realize there's no direct testimony incriminating Tom Brady, but all those text messages back and forth between this equipment assistant that was very close with Tom Brady, or is very close with him, John Jastrzemski, and this ref's locker room attendant, Jim McNally. When I read all the text messages, the back and forth, when I read about the flurry of text messages between Tom Brady and Jastrzemski the day after the game in question, after all this broke, the phone calls between them that were fairly lengthy, and then for the first time in the 20 years that Jastrzemski worked for the Patriots, being invited that next day, that following day, into the quarterback room for the first time in his history with the Patriots. It adds up to Tom Brady cheated. And it's hard for me to even get that word out of my mouth, Stephen A., because the prospect of Tom Brady deliberately and routinely cheating, even though I don't consider this major cheating, but it is cheating nonetheless. He did break a rule that I'm sure he was aware of, even though he told the investigators that even though he participated in getting the rule changed in 2006, where the road teams could handle their own, prepare their own footballs, he claimed that he did not know about the minimum PSI level until last season. That's a bunch of baloney. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. And then further evidence, Tom Brady would not let the investigators go through his phone. I know he's a big superstar with a big superstar model wife. I get that. But it would seem like if you were innocent as charged, you would just open book it. You would say, sure, go ahead. And they said they would certainly keep it under lock and key, and they would only sift through looking for any text relating to this matter. Then the Patriots wouldn't allow this McNally a second interview after it became known to the investigators that he had a nickname. He called himself the Deflater. And in the end, I look back at that interview that Tom Brady gave the week before Super Bowl week, in which he was so thoroughly, overwhelmingly unconvincing and so awkward and so just on his heels through the whole interview. So sheepish almost. Stephen A., I thought he was covering for Belichick there, and maybe he was, but he was also covering for himself. So I'm going to call for Tom Brady to be gone for 4 games. Maybe the NFLPA could get that reduced to a couple of games. But again, per what happened to Sean Payton through the whole Bounty Gate, that he was held responsible, I think Bill Belichick should be gone for half the season, 8 games, in part because of his track record with Spygate, for which he was solely responsible, and all the other accusations that have been leveled against Bill Belichick. So just given his track record, I'm going to go 8 games for him, 4 for Tom Brady. The fine can be whatever. I don't know if Mr. Kraft needs to be fined here, but I do think a draft choice needs to be taken from the Patriots. I'll make it a 4th-round pick, just a 4th-round pick in next year's draft. That would suffice to me. But my bottom line is Tom Brady's 4-ring legacy has been tainted. I don't care if he gets suspended or not. This is damning evidence here. It's enough. Circumstantial, but damning. His reputation has been tainted long term, to the point that, knowing some of the hardcore Hall of Fame voters the way I have over the years, Stephen A., I'm not sure Tom Brady is going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He might also get punished long term to be held out the first round of voting from the Hall of Fame. It's a very sad day for me. But I can't run from the facts. They are screaming to me, circumstantially as they might be, that Tom Brady is guilty.
I respect your opinion. I know that was hard for you, how much you love your boy Tom Brady.
I do.
You know, and this is nothing to be overjoyed about. I can tell you that much, considering his level of greatness. What he's put on display for us for the better part of the last, for more than a decade now. 4 Super Bowl titles, his performance in the Super Bowls, his performance in one clutch situation after another. It's pretty sad that we have to sit here and have this discussion. None of us take any joy in having to say what we have to say, but it is what it is. Tom Brady does deserve to be suspended. Skip, I completely agree with you. I would definitely suspend him for the 4 games. I think this thing was incredibly incriminating, particularly the text messages back and forth between Jastrzemski and McNally, when they were basically using the, dropping F-bombs and talking about what a pain in the neck Tom Brady was because he was so meticulous about the balls. When you consider that, it falls in line with what I had been saying for months now, and that being the quarterback, behind center, having the ball snapped to you, handing it off to running backs, throwing it to tight ends and wide receivers and running backs for that matter, having the ball in your hands more than anybody else on the field, it is absolutely, positively impossible that he had nothing to do with it, because a legitimate argument, beyond a legitimate argument, could be made that all of this effort, as strenuous as it may have been, was exercised specifically because of Tom Brady. To look out for him, to do what he wanted done. And then when you consider the fact that you go practically years or months rather without talking to the equipment managers and what have you, to really not communicating with them but so much, and then all of a sudden they're in the quarterback room, they're in the quarterback meeting, and all of a sudden you're exchanging phone calls with them. Really? I mean, there's just no question that the evidence is incredibly, incredibly incriminating towards Tom Brady. There's no way around it. He deserves a 4-game suspension. the New England Patriots deserve to have at least a second-round pick confiscated from them. I don't go fourth round, Skip. I'll go as high as a second, and it wouldn't bother me if they had a first-round pick confiscated, because we're talking about the integrity of the game. We're talking about people who are going to look at Tom Brady and say he cheated. Well, Skip Bayless, if it's so significant where you think his status as a future first ballot Hall of Famer is in jeopardy, if it's so significant that the 4 Super Bowls are arguably tainted, how is it not significant enough to confiscate a first-round pick when Tom Brady was your quarterback all along? I mean, basically, based on the evidence itself. And then you have to take into consideration Troy Vincent here, the NFL executive, the NFL VP. We have to take that into consideration. It's not Roger Goodell, from what I'm being told. It's not Roger Goodell that's going to make this decision. This is Troy Vincent. And it's not just smoke and mirrors. Troy Vincent is a former player. So Troy Vincent, a man that I covered in Philadelphia, tremendous integrity, okay? This is a guy that's going to hand down rulings. And he can't just look at Tom Brady and the greatness of Tom Brady. He has to take into account all 32 teams, the players that played against Tom Brady, people who legitimately have been on the record saying they felt robbed because they believe that the New England Patriots engaged in cheating activity. He has to take all of that into consideration. I don't see how it can be any less than 4 games for Tom Brady, in my estimation. But here's where I part ways with you. I don't believe Bill Belichick deserves a game.
Oh, please.
Nothing. Nothing. Here's why. Regardless of what you believe, Skip, the report specifically said there was no evidence found whatsoever incriminating Bill Belichick. Completely. Ted Wells didn't use the word he had wiggle room. Because if you talk about Tom Brady and probable, you could have said Bill Belichick questionable. You could have said Bill Belichick probable. You could have said Bill Belichick definitively. You used none of those words. You specifically said you haven't found anything to incriminate this man. I'm looking at here and it says exactly this. The report finds no wrongdoing or knowledge of wrongdoing by Patriots ownership, by head coach Bill Belichick, or any other Patriots coach in the matters investigated. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what most of America could possibly surmise. The facts are an investigation took place, and the same investigation that you're willing to give weight to incriminate Tom Brady has completely exonerated Bill Belichick. Now, we can believe whatever, but the report that everybody is going on that's calling for Tom Brady to be suspended, that's calling for his reputation to be sullied and his integrity to be completely compromised, that same report completely exonerates the head coach. It doesn't matter what you believe. What matters is the report said 0 evidence of wrongdoing on the part of Mr. Kraft, on the part of Bill Belichick, or any of the coaches. This is on Tom Brady, your guy, period.
I consider Bill Belichick my guy, too, and he has to go down here. You remember what happened to Sean Payton in Bountygate? I had no knowledge, and they said that's no excuse. You're the head coach of the New Orleans Saints.
That's not what happened.
Yeah, it was.
Sean Payton got suspended because Sean Payton lied to Roger Goodell's face. That's why he got suspended. It wasn't because he was disculpable.
But they said that's no excuse. If you're the head coach, you have to know. You have to stand responsible for what's operating under your nose. No coach in the National Football League rules his football operation with more of an iron fist than Bill Belichick does. I suggest to you, no coach has more awareness of the minute details in the operation than Belichick. He's his own offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator and special teams coach. I'm sorry. He has to know that the very essence, that there were all the reports that came out before the Super Bowl. Remember about how Bill brings out footballs before bad weather games and he wets them down or he ices them up or whatever he has to do. He's acutely aware of the condition of the football, especially the one that his star quarterback is going to throw. You don't think he had discussions with Tom Brady? How would you like it? And how could we fix it for you? Stop it.
Skip, with all due respect, I'm not debating whether you're right or wrong. I don't know. You may very well be right. But your complete argument against Bill Belichick is entirely emotional. Because the report says we found no evidence. We found no evidence. Now, either you're going to go with the report or you're not. You can't go with the report for Tom Brady, but ignore it with Bill Belichick. Or you can't go with the report with Tom Brady and then ignore the report and surmise that, you know what, I'm going to connect the dots. The fact is, the report says Bill Belichick, zero evidence of wrongdoing. Period.
Okay. The only damning evidence we have against Tom Brady are the text messages. And they're from lackey to lackey. This assistant equipment guy to this assistant guy in the referee's quarters. And they're not going to be texting about Belichick. They're going to be texting about Tom Brady. Belichick is the overseer. Yes, it is. They're not going to say Bill told us. It's going to come from Brady.
If Bill Belichick got involved, you best believe they would be talking about him too. If he got involved, they would have been. I'm not trying to sit there and say that Bill Belichick was completely ignorant. Please don't get me wrong.
Right.
Do I believe that Bill Belichick is? See, understand the reason why I believe Bill Belichick's at least relative innocence in all of this. I believe the head coach is completely preoccupied with everything else. So his attitude is, okay, we're to surmise. Let's say, for example, we're talking about the Super Bowl here, Skip. Obviously, it wasn't deflated that day. Look how Tom Brady played. So if you're Bill Belichick, I could see Bill Belichick having the level of confidence in the greatness of Tom Brady where he's not concerned about something as detailed as that. And he's like, look, my quarterback can handle it. Y'all do what y'all got to do and move on. I can see that happening. That's all I mean by that. That's all I'm saying. Tom Brady's the one throwing the football, handing it off, etc., etc. Now, if you want to tell me Bill Belichick had the balls deflated because whether it's Ridley or Vereen or whoever was in the doghouse, they were fumbling the ball too much and stuff like that, okay, that's a different argument. But the fact is that we're talking about Tom Brady here. And if we're talking about Tom Brady here, there is no getting around the fact, those text messages, the fact that he is intimately attached to the football. And then we look at his press conference, which was incredibly unconvincing. I mean, Tom Brady was worse than Mark McGuire on Capitol Hill, not knowing how to plead the fifth.
I agree.
I mean, it was just, it was off.
Well, Stephen A., wait, let's stop down for a minute. 20 minutes into this debate, I want to make sure our viewers don't get lost. You guys both agree that Tom Brady should get 4 games minimum. You say nothing for Belichick. You say 8 for Belichick. You keep talking about these text messages. Let me show you some of the text messages. On October 17th, 2014, following a Thursday night game between the Patriots and the New York Jets, Tom complained. This is McNally, the equipment assistant, and he says, actually, he's the locker room attendant. Tom sucks. I'm going to make the next ball a blanked balloon. Talked to him last night. He actually brought you up, said you must have had a lot of stress trying to get them done. I told him it was. He was right, though. I checked some of the balls this morning. The refs blanked us. A few of them were at almost 16. They didn't recheck them after they put air in them. And then this is McNally, the attendant. He says, blank Tom, 16 is nothing. Wait till next Sunday. One more set here, guys. This is 11 days before the AFC Championship game. McNally, remember to put a couple of sweet pigskins ready for Tom to sign. You got it, kid. Big autograph day for you. Nice throw some kicks in and make it real special. You're lucky. 11 as in his shoe size. 11 or 11 and a half, kid. All right, these are the text messages that you guys are referring to that seem to show circumstantial evidence in which Tom may have been involved. Your take.
Right. In the point here, the inference is that McNally was actually being bribed by Jastrzynski to go ahead and be his nickname, the Deflater, and take the balls just before the game into the little bathroom for 100 seconds, a minute and 40 seconds, and quickly take a needle and just deflate all the footballs. Now, just to be fair to Tom Brady, Stephen A., indulge me this. Is it possible, I'm just throwing this out, and I know what you're going to say, but is it possible that these two guys heard long ago Tom Brady on WEEI on his radio show mention that, hey, I like to throw footballs that are a little underinflated? Is it possible that they conspired together to act on their own to help the quarterback they loved without his knowledge, and that these bribes or these gifts that he was getting was just Jastrzemski going to Tom and saying, hey, I need a football signed, or I need some Uggs or whatever you can give me, and not telling him he's going to give them to McNally to deflate the footballs? Is that even possible to you as a scenario here that would let Tom Brady off this hook?
No.
Okay.
It's not
I'm just
possible.
throwing it out because, yeah, go ahead.
You know why it's not possible to me? Because the text messages alluding to Tom Brady getting on their nerves or them being annoyed with them intimates communication between Tom and them, which is why he was annoying to them.
Okay. All right. I'm with you. Now, another point, a plus point for Tom Brady, and you alluded to this a minute ago, and I think it's very important to bring this up. The second half of that AFC Championship game, after the balls had been rechecked and properly inflated, and according to the table in the Wells report, they were overinflated in the second half for the Patriots, and strangely enough, oddly enough,
the Colts balls were less.
One official found 4 of the Colts balls. That's all they could get to because they ran out of time at halftime.
Right.
But 4 were underinflated.
Exactly.
Just for the record,
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting anything, but that's a little crazy.
Right.
Okay, but remember, Tom Brady is throwing overinflated footballs in the second half. And the Patriots won the second half 28-0 on the way to 45-7. And for point of order, Tom Brady threw 2 third-quarter touchdown passes with extremely overinflated footballs. Just for the record.
Irrelevant, and here's
it's not irrelevant. It's a good point in Tom Brady's behalf.
It's irrelevant because the issue in question is what happened in the first half. You're bringing up stuff that he's done as if to imply that he can't do what he's done unless the footballs were deflated. No one in America who has watched Tom Brady over the years would question it. A matter of fact, people are incredulous because they know his greatness is so supreme that he didn't need to have deflated footballs. So you bringing that stuff up, that's what I mean by irrelevant, because nobody's questioning his greatness. If anything, it brings into question why. Why would you even think about doing this? Why bother? You don't need to do it. You're Tom Brady. You are that great. Why would you do this? That's what people are saying.
Well,
so that's the point. So let's stick to the issue at hand, which is the first half of that game where the balls were deflated.
Okay.
What happens is you have people looking at him, and this speaks to the New England Patriots. You've got all of these gifted players. You've got a gifted Hall of Fame coach, the best coach of this generation. You got a great quarterback. Why bother?
Okay, well, same question for Belichick. Why did he cheat? You know, why Spygate? Why shoot the defensive?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, okay, all right.
You're absolutely right.
Real quick, let me just finish. Point of order, just to continue. And I know you're going to say it's irrelevant, but with properly inflated footballs in the Super Bowl, obviously Tom Brady won Super Bowl MVP, threw 4 touchdown passes, threw for 328 yards against one of the best defenses in history, one of, and certainly a great secondary, although a couple of the guys were pretty banged up and were going to need surgery. But the point was that. Now, put him on a couch. If you want my bottom line answer to your question, Tom Brady, once upon a time, was a 6th-round draft choice. Maybe there was a little insecurity operating there. Maybe along the way he thought, I need every little bit of help I can get, and I like my footballs slightly underinflated, and in Tom's mind, that was just maybe running a stop sign as opposed to committing quote-unquote NFL murder.
Or maybe because he's Tom Brady and he's so deified in so many circles, he thought he could get away with it.
Possibly. Yep.
All I'm saying is, if it were most other people, we'd be looking at their arrogance, their attitude, their dismissive tendencies, their being insulated. I got a head coach. If I'm Tom Brady, I got a head coach who could easily moonlight for the CIA. This brother ain't telling anything. That's Bill Belichick. You understand?
That's how he skated on this thing. That's right.
Holding everything close to the vest.
He's just better at it than Tom Brady.
Ain't telling anything to anybody.
He ain't told nothing.
Encourages an atmosphere of clandestine exercises and beyond. If you're Tom Brady, you feeling insulated. If it were anybody else, we'd be calling them arrogant. We'd be saying they've got issues. We'd be calling them a cheater. We'd be calling them a lot of things. Yet with Tom Brady, you've got people, I mean, there are people walking around today whose hearts are broken because they could not fathom that, oh my God, Tom Brady, no, that can't be. You're looking at Bill Belichick. I'm not saying that's the only reason, but primarily you're looking at Bill Belichick because you can't believe, you can't fathom that Tom Brady might have come up with this all on his own.
Well, Bill Belichick has a track record. He has a history of this. And to your point, I texted with a couple of players very close to Tom Brady last night. They just won't buy it. They won't believe. They can't wrap their mind around the prospect of Tom Brady cheating, and it's difficult for me to.
Well, then Tom Brady needs to come out. Then Tom Brady, I'll tell you what. Tom Brady, I will believe Tom Brady if he comes out and he defends himself like a man is supposed to when he's wrongly accused. How about that?
He didn't do nothing. Belichick said he didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
All right. So listen, you heard Skip and Stephen A's reactions to the Wells report. Again, Skip and Stephen A both believe Brady should get 4 games. They differ on Belichick's suspension. We want to know what you think. Is there enough evidence to punish one Tom Brady? Vote yes or no if you think there is at the hashtag #PunishBrady. We will have the results later on in the show. Obviously, we will continue this debate throughout the show. In the meantime, though, we're talking about some playoffs. LeBron's headband is back. Is that the reason the Cavs get the win? The debate on the other side of the break. We'll be right back in just a few moments.
Thank you very much. I read and I read and I read, trying to shoot holes in it, trying to dismiss it as a bunch of reckless reaches, as we just heard from Tom Brady's agent. I don't want to hear about a sting operation. I don't want to hear from Tom Brady's father about Framegate. I realize the evidence is mostly circumstantial, but it's convincingly circumstantial. And I realize there's no smoking gun, there's no picture of, although there's video of this ref's locker room attendant taking the balls into the bathroom for about 100 seconds before that game in question. I realize there's no direct testimony incriminating Tom Brady, but all those text messages back and forth between this equipment assistant that was very close.
The championship game, and no league officials or game officials notified the Patriots of the same issue prior to the game. This suggests it's maybe more probable than not that the league cooperated with the Colts in penetrating a sting operation. This report contains significant and tragic flaws, and it is common knowledge in the legal industry that reports like this generally are written for the benefit of the purchaser. All right. That's where we begin the first of several debates on this show. Is there enough evidence, according to the Wells report, to punish Tom Brady? That is the question. Skip Bayless, you first.
Stephen A. Smith, I'm afraid there is. As you well know from working with me for many years, I'm a big Tom Brady fan. I'm a Patriot supporter. I know there's a whole lot of Patriot hate out there, but you don't get it from me. I'm afraid Tom Brady is guilty here, and I'm afraid he's going to have to be suspended for the good of, the integrity of the game that we all love, the National Football League's game. I think Bill Belichick is going to have to be suspended. I'm going to call for Brady to be gone for 4 games and Belichick for 8 games because he oversaw this process, whether he admits to it or not. Now, back to the Wells report. Stephen A. Smith, I read every word of it last night. I read the tables. I read the graphs. I read the appendices. if that's the right word.
Yeah, that is correct.
I read it to the bottom. I lost track how many, 100 and some odd pages.
It was a lot.
139.
His report on the inflation levels of footballs used by the Patriots in the AFC Championship game against the Colts. Among the key conclusions, it's more probable than not that the Patriots personnel participated in a deliberate effort to release air from game balls, and quarterback Tom Brady was at least generally aware of inappropriate activities. It did not find any wrongdoing by Patriots ownership or coach Bill Belichick. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports that a source close to the investigation says the NFL is considering discipline for those involved, including Brady, and that the decision is just days away. However, we are now hearing from Tom Brady's agent. This morning, he says the Wells report, with all due respect, is a significant and terrible disappointment. One item alone taints this entire report. What does it say about the league's office protocols and ethics when it allows one team to tip it off to an issue prior to it?
With Tom Brady, or is very close with him, John Jastrzemski, and this ref's locker room attendant, Jim McNally. When I read all the text messages, the back and forth, when I read about the flurry of text messages between Tom Brady and Jastrzemski the day after the game in question, after all this broke, the phone calls between them that were fairly lengthy, and then for the first time in the 20 years that Jastrzemski worked for the Patriots, being invited that next day, that following day, into the quarterback room for the first time in his history with the Patriots. It adds up to Tom Brady cheated. And it's hard for me to even get that word out of my mouth, Stephen A., because the prospect of Tom Brady deliberately and routinely cheating, even though I don't consider this major cheating, but it is cheating nonetheless. He did break a rule that I'm sure